What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor season 43, episode 4. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and this was another episode of Survivor. I feel like I say that every week, but I feel like this week was pretty solid, just like middle of the road episode. Nothing like super interesting happened, but it also like wasn't boring. So, yeah, good times.
That's true. I feel like a meme going around right now, it's like, okay, you're the main character. Every main character in a TV show can't have all the episodes. So this was a filler episode, I guess. But also, it was good because we finally saw Blue Team go to Tribal Council, which was what Alyssa and I wanted because we wanted to see more of Blue.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of funny that the reason that blue team went to tribal was because the other teams like colluded to make it happen. So that was kind of fun. That was a little bit spicy.
Some drama, yes. So for the confessionals this episode, Cody, he had the most confessionals at 5. Cody also has the most confessionals this season thus far at 29, which I guess it makes sense. Cody got a lot of confessionals because he was the person to go on that reward steal, and Cody is a good narrator. He's fun in confessionals, so I feel like this does make sense, but also maybe for his winner chances he wouldn't be so far out there, but we've seen it with like Tony getting so many confessionals though too. So I guess you can't really say.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably going to get far, but probably not clinch the win, just because at this point it would be kind of obvious.
Yeah, literally episode 4 in. So for 0 confessionals, this was the least number of confessionals this episode were Janine and Owen, which I guess also makes sense because they weren't a part of the Gabler palm frond incident and they also didn't go to tribal council. But also, this is bad for Janine because for least confessionals overall this season thus far, Janine and Gio are last place with 6 confessionals only over the 4 episodes.
Yeah, I feel like we know more about like who Gio is as a person. He got some like secondhand visibility this episode, even if it wasn't exactly positive. I feel like I could not tell you anything about Janine. So she's mostly been like invisible or under the radar. So yeah.
Yeah, that's why when Gio's name was coming up, I was like, oh, I really don't feel like he's going home because we heard 2 episodes of him talking about his backstory, talking about his life and everything. So I was like, we know a lot about Gio. He can't go home yet.
Yeah, it would seem weird to punch that much on a character who wasn't destined to stay at least until the merge.
Yeah, because usually editing trick, I feel like if they're about to go home this episode, we'll get their backstory the same episode they go home.
Or we'll at least get like a little bit more like visibility of them before they go home. Like if Janine starts getting a lot of confessionals, she's out.
So, speaking of the yellow team, we start off this episode with the Gabler palm frond incident. Rob and Steven on RHAP, they were really, really mad at Gabler. Maybe it's because Alyssa and I haven't played Survivor, but I feel like Gabler had good intentions here. He was trying to help his tribe from not being cold. Like, it wasn't malicious. I thought, like, he was just trying to do a nice thing, but people are being so hard on him on the internet.
I think it's just a weird thing because like he woke them up and it's like if he had the idea to use palm fronds to like keep people warm, like just like ask them the night before or something. And like unless someone is like visibly shivering, like it's not your responsibility to like keep them warm or something, you know? So I feel like it was kind of like a jerk move just because I think Ellie was the one who said, like, yeah, I was asleep and you woke me up by putting a palm frond on me. And the marginal warmth from the palm frond probably did less than an extra like 15 minutes of sleep would do. So
Dang, I think it's just like Gabler's dad instincts coming out, and maybe he just has really, really bad social reads. Like, okay, his dad instincts, if his kids were cold, like he'd put a blanket on them. Dad instincts here, these younger people maybe look cold, so he's going to put something on top of them. So it's just sort of a bad social play, but maybe he's big braining the strategy and he's like, haha, I'm trying to hurt them. So I'm going to wake them up in the wee hours of the morning so they get less sleep. And maybe he's big braining it and pretending to like be a bumbling person who doesn't have a good social game. But it just felt like, he wasn't trying to be malicious. He just didn't have a good read on the situation here.
Yeah, and I guess if it had been just one bad read, I might have like given him a pass. But the fact that Sammy was like, this moment epitomizes who Gabler is, like, not a good look for him. Like, I feel like Gabler has consistently been shown in a negative light, and this didn't really help.
Yeah, so I feel like the whole palm frond thing, it really reminds me, have you seen those memes of like, okay, at a sleepover when you're a little kid at a friend's house, you're freezing cold, you don't have enough blankets for the like heat coldness of their house, and then it's the thing, okay, people are faking being at a sleepover and then they're like having a TV on them as a blanket, like they're
Yeah.
hiding underneath the table. So that's what it reminded me of, like, oh, he's putting this random object on them to keep them warm, but like you're not going to get warmth from a TV blanket.
You're not going to get warmth from a palm frond. So, especially not a palm frond that has like been sitting out potentially in like the cold, wet rain. So,
Maybe if you cocooned yourself in it before, or like you dried them in the sun and they got the heat from the sun, and then you cocooned yourself in them.
yeah.
So we see Sammy and Ellie specifically being annoyed with Gabler. And then we also see Ellie and Gabler sort of bickering about the fire. I guess, we get it. It's hard to live with new people 24/7 like this in such close quarters, not eating, not sleeping. It's just, I don't know. All from the yellow team that we're seeing is them doing weird stuff like this. Oh, they're fighting. Oh, the women are thinking the men aren't doing anything. It's like a weird edit here.
I mean, it could just be that they genuinely like don't mesh well. Like some people just don't vibe. So it sucks if that's your tribe, but I feel like we've definitely seen before tribes that just like they cannot seem to work together for one reason or another. So, meh. I don't think it's that weird of an edit. I think it's just like the people are people and people don't always get along with each other.
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like weird because we need to see them go to tribal council to like figure out all of this tension because we see the buildup. Okay, is it men versus women? Is it everyone versus Gabler? Are they going to trick him into not playing the idol? But then they never go to tribal. So I'm like, okay, this tension needs to get resolved. Otherwise, I'm going to be sort of sad come merge if all of them make it to merge and they never went to a tribal council after they kept building up, okay, men versus women or everyone versus Gabler. Like, I want to see that play out.
I feel like if they all make it to merge, it's going to be a messy, messy merge for them.
Yeah, so we get to the reward challenge. It's sort of weird to start. Jeff is taking attendance, he's counting people, which I thought, okay, did someone quit overnight or maybe someone got medevaced overnight and that's why he was counting everyone as like, shocker, and then we're going to flash back to someone leaving. But no, he was just counting people.
I wondered if it was like a random way to remind us of like who the people on the blue team were. Just because like that's the only thing I could think of. Like, remember these people who you haven't seen? They still exist.
Yeah. Roll call so we know their names.
Yeah, basically.
So then everyone walks in, and then we see the reactions to NECA getting voted out last week. I do wonder here, we see close up shots of Owen and James reacting to this. And I do wonder, I wish maybe we heard a confessional or something of them being like confused, like, WTF, Noelle, you said you wanted to make a big move with this advantage, and that's why we gave you this advantage at the Adventure Island last week. But like, I feel like if you're just looking at the teams, voting out the oldest woman on the entire season is not going to be considered a big move. So I wonder if they were like, Noelle, what did you do?
I wonder if part of it is just like, if I'm Noelle and I'm on the bottom, I'm just gonna go for whoever is easiest to pick off. So I feel like they just showed that to remind us that Noelle had the advantage, but I don't think that we necessarily needed a comment. Just because, yeah, I feel like they would have given Noelle the advantage anyway, just from knowing she was on the bottom. Like, she didn't need to promise to make a big move with that.
That's true, but I think because she did say she wanted to make a big move, you're assuming she's probably going to vote out one of the men. Maybe it'll come up at merge and they're like, "Oh, maybe our three-person alliance is no more," or like, "Noelle, why did you not get to vote out a men?" But also it probably wouldn't affect her cuz like you just said, she could always say no one wanted to vote out Jesse or Cody, so I couldn't sway the votes that way. I had to save myself. But I feel like if you're out there and someone says, I'm going to make a big move, and they don't make that big move, I feel like maybe question marks or red flags might go up. Like maybe she was lying about being on the bottom and she just said that to get our advantage from us.
Yeah, I don't know. Or she could just be like, hey, I'm waiting to make a big move until we're all together and can take credit for it. Like, there's plenty of ways to play that. So,
Yeah, I'm like, I would not. Someone that says they're going to wait like that, I'm like, not good if you're, I guess, one of the strong. I guess it's better if you're the strong man, but if you're not considered a strong player, you don't want that person around.
yeah.
So, with the quote big move of last week voting out the oldest woman on the season, this week we also see another woman go home, the second oldest woman on the season. So now we have 4 women voted out in a row now, which hasn't happened on too many seasons of Survivor. And I think it's funny, sad how we saw 2 women's alliances be formed in the first episode in the premiere, and then both of them crumbled now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I wonder if part of it is the pressure of the smaller tribes and like the whole idea of like tribe strong. But I would be interested in doing like a statistical analysis of how many women get voted off pre-merge when it's 2 tribes versus 3.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that, like, information as well because at least for season 43 here, it's like, okay, if you're saying let's keep the tribe strong, you're more likely to probably vote out a woman over a man in these situations. So it's more likely that women are going to go home in that spot when you're saying let's keep the tribe strong because it'd be harder on your tribe if you're voting out a Cody or a Jesse here because they can carry your team more.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see next week. They can go for the record, and 5 women voted out in a row, which would be a new record for Survivor starts of seasons. So, for this reward challenge, they have to knock down blocks. They have to walk across these blocks without touching the ground, and then they have to land some sandbags on moving targets. And if you win, only one team wins. They win 10 fresh fish, and then they can steal an item from another camp. So for this challenge, I liked the walking across the blocks part where you can't touch the floor. It sort of reminded me of that challenge where they had to walk across like the barrels and not touch the ground as well. And it also reminds me of like in elementary school, middle school gym class where you have to get across the gym without touching the ground.
Mission Impossible.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like looking at this and I was wondering if Noelle would be able to like do the walking across on the blocks thing because it seems like her running blade would not be the best for balancing. So I wonder if like a version of this had everyone needing to walk on the blocks across, but they decided to scrap that because I feel like normally they wouldn't have like a hero role that was that big. I think normally they would probably try and make everyone walk across and not just the person who would knock the blocks down, but I don't know.
That's why I was confused. I thought all 4 of the people there had to go across. So I sort of wish everyone had to do it because I feel like some of those people would probably be really bad at not touching the floor and like pushing the blocks with their feet only. So I sort of wanted to see everyone have to go across it.
Yeah, I guess like I was saying, I'm not sure how well like Noelle's prosthetic would work with that, and it just seems unfair if the reason that like she and her team couldn't get across is because of like the way her prosthetic is designed. So
yeah, I guess if they do the challenge again, they can have everyone go across it and we can see if people are just bad at not touching the floor. So it's like such a kids game. So I like that part of the challenge.
yeah, I mean Ryan wasn't that great at it. It took him a while to do it, though I guess he also started from behind. So
Yeah, everyone makes it to the sandbag portion at the end of it, so that's more of like the equalizer part of the challenge. But Red, they land all of their sandbags, so they finally win something, which is exciting for them after their like losing streak here. And then everyone else leaves. Red team is talking to Jeff, and then Noelle is like, "Jeff, can we trade rewards?" And then Jeff says, "Yeah, you could always do this," which I was like, "What the heck?" Like, always, Jeff? Since when was this ever a thing? Like, you're just lying to us now.
yeah, I thought it was interesting because he was like, "Oh, you can trade for an earlier reward," and it's like, this has never come up. So I feel like they offer the rewards they do when they offer them, like for a reason. Like I think next week, if someone's like, "Hey, can we have 10 fish for our reward instead of whatever," Jeff would be like, "No, what the heck?" Like I feel
Yeah.
like the only reason that like if they had asked for like a fishing set instead of their flint, even though a fishing set was a previous reward, Jeff would probably be like, "No way, Jose." So I feel like it has to be like they have a certain value of rewards, and you're allowed to ask for a reward of a similar or lower value, but not like a higher value reward.
I don't even think they were thinking that far in advance. It feels like Jeff just made up the rules on the spot because someone probably said, "Hey, Jeff, we can't cook the fish. How are we going to eat this? Are you trying to like give us all food poisoning?" And then Jeff confers with production. They're like, "Okay, we'll let you trade it." And then we're going to play it off like, this has always been a thing. Everyone else on previous seasons is just they didn't read the rules, so they didn't know. Because I'm like, it just felt so weird. They didn't even have to negotiate because usually, okay, maybe you can negotiate with Jeff. You give him something to trade your prize, your winnings for rice or something else, which we've seen in previous seasons. But to just trade up 10 fish for like a bunch of other stuff just is so unfair. And then Jeff tries to say, "Yeah, we've always done this."
Yeah, that's just so weird. Like, why?
Yeah, like when that happened in the episode, I was like, has this always been a thing? And I just haven't paid attention. But Rob and Steven were also confused and they've actually played the game and they were very angry about this. So I was like, okay, this has not been a thing. Jeff is just making stuff up as he goes here.
Jeff is trying to gaslight all of us.
Seriously. So the red team, they trade the reward, the fish, for the basket of fruit and a toolkit, which I think is lame. You shouldn't be able to trade without any repercussions. They should have to give up something in order to trade if they didn't want the fish. And then, like, you could just pick the best previous reward. Maybe you get a tarp out of it. Maybe you get a bunch of other good stuff. Like, where's the rule book on this? I want to see it. Can you do this post merge too? So if you win something post merge, you're like, "Oh, I won the steak." And you're like, "No, I want the chicken nugget reward. Can I trade it?" If someone won a family visit and then the week after, you're like, "No, I want the family visit." Like, where's the limits on this?
Jeff opened up a Pandora's box, man.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, the family visit one probably wouldn't work because your person isn't flown out there. Maybe they left already or something. But if it's okay, maybe a letter or a call home, can you trade for that? Because that would just be so OP.
And the other thing is, like, they didn't even have to trade their entire reward for it. They had like a two portion of reward. One portion was like the 10 fish, and the other portion was going to rob another camp. And they only had to trade the 10 fish for the flint. Like, if Jeff really wants to be a hard ass, he should have been like, "Okay, you get the flint, but you can't steal anything from anyone else." And it's like,
Yeah, like the
Jeff,
basket of fruit and toolkit. Yeah. So it just felt like he was making it up because you can't, yeah, like you're saying, you can't just trade half of it to get the toolkit. You should have to trade the whole thing. But I'm like, okay, Jeff, he wants them to go rob the other camp. So there's no way he's going to let them give up both, you know?
yeah. I will say the like robbing the camp discussion, that was really fun, I feel like.
I agree. I thought it was also funny. Cody is like, "Why can't we just eat the fish raw?" And then Noelle is like, "No." And then later we also see Cassidy bring that up. It's like, "Oh, are y'all doing sashimi? So like raw fish sushi kind of style." So people were thinking, "Okay, how is this team going to eat this fish without Flint?" And then Jeff is just like, "Oh, okay, I guess you can't eat it, so we'll let you trade for a fruit basket now." Is whack.
Yeah, it's whack. But then when they like go to rob the other camps, Cody is like, dude, we gotta like totally take them out. This is war. And his other tribe mates are like, you can't piss everyone off. And I thought that was so funny. I thought Dwight trying to convince everyone to let him go instead was kind of funny though. Because it's like Dwight is probably not as like wild as Cody, but I don't think that he is like the master socialist that Cody is. Like Cody has a great social game, and I think it was amazing that he managed to talk the tribes that they robbed into giving him way more than they asked for. But I feel like Dwight wouldn't have been able to do that. He would have gotten what he came for and left. So
I agree. Like Dwight saying, "I'll be more diplomatic. I should go." Like for Dwight to offer, I think I don't know. I think if you're Dwight and Noelle, you shouldn't offer to go because you've already been on another island trip. Cody and Jesse haven't done anything yet. So if you're thinking, okay, fairness, I'm trying to be a team player, then you should let Cody or Jesse go because they didn't do any of the island trips yet. So it makes sense that people would let Cody go because Dwight has already done something and no one has repeated, a trip yet.
yeah, and I mean like I feel like there's an argument to be made for Cody being impulsive, but like at the end of the day, he's always done what's better for his tribe. So, and I feel like going in asking for the machete is the reason why he was able to be so successful. And I think like I know he's been knocking salespeople, but like that's kind of like a salesperson kind of like thing to do. Like you gotta be able to like kind of manipulate other people to get what you want.
I thought Cody was such a gem in these confessionals. Like you were saying, he wanted to like kick the the other teams in their shins. He said he wants to kick down their shelter. I thought that was really funny. Jesse also says, "Okay, if this were me in the past, I would want to steal their machete for like maximum chaos, hee hee." But then Jesse is like, "No, I have a family. I live in a cul-de-sac now, so I should be diplomatic. We should be diplomatic and not steal their machete." I was like, for the drama, it'd be so funny if the machete was stolen and then you just piss a bunch of people off.
Or just like, don't even steal their machete. Just when you go to the camp, hide their machete. Like, do something.
So I thought it was an interesting choice though for them to go to blue team because it was said multiple times yellow they won the bigger rewards, they have the bigger fishing gear, they have the bigger toolkit, all of that. Blue has the smaller the second place versions of those rewards, but they have more people, which I'm like, okay, 5 versus 6 people, it's not that big of a difference. Wouldn't you want to go to yellow because they have the bigger rewards?
I think it also depends though, because with the smaller rewards, you might think like, oh, this is more fair as far as like the replacing the machete type thing. Like you might think to yourself, oh, like our big deluxe fishing set is more valuable to us than our machete. We're not going to offer that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess they sort of gave their reasoning. Blue has more people, so let's go to their camp. I really liked Cody's salesperson strategy, though. I thought that was really fun. And the whole edit with the salesperson rhetoric is really fun. Like, okay, episode 1 and 2 with Justine, don't trust salespeople. She's a salesperson. And then now he's like, yeah, I'm a salesperson. I'm going to use this sales background to strategize here and get what I want, like the foot in the door strategy. And it could have worked out really, really well. Like he got what he wanted in the end, not the machete. He wanted the other stuff, the fishing gear here. And Blue, they could have felt really good that they didn't get their machete stolen, like we saw in the episode, and everything would have been like handy dandy. Everyone would have been happy or felt like they walked away successful in this mission. But then, good on Carla, she realizes, hey, I think we all just got played, and Cody played us here. So that was a smart read from her.
Yeah, but I think it was also like, I forget which one of them said it. It might have been Lindsay, but Lindsay was just like, we're just not good negotiators. And so I wonder how much of it is people thinking Cody played them and how much of it is people thinking like, oh, we're not as good at negotiating as we thought, because that kind of shifts who you blame.
Yeah, I feel like Carla probably blames Cody. If she didn't say that to the rest of her team seemed happy that their machete didn't get stolen. So it does. It depends. But it would be interesting come merge time if Carla maybe targets Cody, maybe doesn't want to work with Cody, because we see that confessional of Carla is like, why is Cody doing all of the like Hawaii stuff? Because he's not really from there, and seems like maybe Carla doesn't really like Cody.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that she dislikes him so much as like she's annoyed by him. And I think that's fair. I think Cody's personality, we talked about it, and like all of our pre-merge or all of our preseason stuff, like he could be a really grating personality. And I think like his tribe really loves him because they get to see that he really is just a weirdo goofball. But like all Carla saw was this guy trying to steal her machete. So of course she's not going to find him like as lovable as his tribe does. So I think it'll be.
Yeah, I think that's not a good first impression, because once you have that first impression, maybe it can be turned around, and they could work together come merge. But I think, Carla, we've seen type A kind of personality. She, even though she's in the middle, she is leading things. I feel like if you were Carla, you'd probably want someone like Cody out, whether early or later. But I think secretly you'd want to keep your eye on him because she like clocked this strategy here from Cody.
Yeah, I also think they could be a really fantastic duo, though. Like, I would love to see them work together just because I think Carla's like shrewdness and Cody's chaos would be really fun together.
So yeah, I also wanted to see Red's reaction to like Cody coming back with all of the stuff, because is he like, oh yeah, I said I wanted the machete, him retelling the story, maybe he pretends like he stole the machete and brings it back. I feel like that story would have been good, like send it as a secret scene, because Cody's such a good storyteller. He probably put on a show when he was telling them what happened, and to get like all of the fruit as well to leave. He didn't just get the fishing gear, he got all of this other random stuff. So it's like I wanted to see his tribe's reaction if they were like, good choice, Cody, but also, bad choice, Cody.
I think it's interesting because the way he said, like, wanting the machete kind of threw his tribe under the bus. Because he said, I was sent for the machete. And so that kind of implies, like, oh, I didn't have anything to do with it. This is what my tribe wanted. So I wonder.
That's smart, I guess. Good on wording.
Yeah, but I wonder if maybe that made him less likely to want to relay the story to like the other tribe or to his own tribe, because if he like tells them what happened, where he's like, yeah, I said I wanted the machete and then they negotiated with me, I feel like that maybe is not something that his tribe would be super happy with. So
Yeah, maybe his tribe could have been like a little bit angry about that. Like, why would you even joke about wanting their machete? Now 6 people are going to hate us, which
5
then we
people
get
now.
yeah, and then we get to the immunity challenge, and then they double down on getting people to dislike them. So the immunity challenge, you have to knock off sandbags to find a key ring. You have to drag puzzle pieces under a net, and then they have to do a square puzzle, and then they have to do a triangle puzzle at the end. I think this would be a good puzzle to DIY.
I think so too. I thought it was really clever. But I also wonder, because it's a relatively simple puzzle with like an easy solution, I feel like this might be one that they only do once, because it would be really easy to memorize both of the solutions. So yeah.
Yeah, probably once, or maybe once every like 10 seasons or something. So it's like forgotten about.
Yeah. But
So I also thought Jeff's commentary was funny during the challenge. He was like, Dwight is moving as slow as you can be to still actually be moving. And then he was ragging on Ryan a lot. Like, Ryan is just standing there and holding the net, which I thought Ryan's strategy there makes sense because the net is so like sticky to the ground. Lifting it up helps your people go through easier because the net is so taut. And then Jeff also, he's at the top of like the frame, and then Blue finishes the first square puzzle. And then he's like not even paying attention because he's looking at the two teams that are at the top doing the triangle portion. And then they have to call him multiple times to get his attention. I just thought all of Jeff's commentary here was funny.
I like Dwight's comment back to Jeff, where Dwight was like, "Thank you, Jeffrey," because it's like, I'm sure when you're a player who's like trying their hardest, when Jeff says something sassy to you or about you, you're just like, "You come down and do it, Jeff."
Yeah, because he can't be like STFU.
Yeah, but the one question that I have about this challenge is like how long it was before Red decided to help Yellow, and then also did like all of the Red team decide to help Yellow together, or it sounded like Noelle was the one who like first called over to Ellie. Did Noelle like make that choice single-handedly? Like, I wish that we had gotten to see more from the Red team about their choice to help the Yellow team, because we got a lot from the Blue team where everyone was like, oh, they're just sick of losing, so they targeted us. But like, of course they're going to say that because they don't want to admit that they lost. So
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see the fallout from Red helping Yellow here, because like Blue was very angry, and maybe this does have repercussions come the merge or come the next couple of episodes pre-merge, and maybe it has repercussions for all of Red, or maybe it only has repercussions for like Noelle and Dwight, who seemed like to be the two most vocal people from the edit. But also with everyone shouting, everyone's high stress in this pressure situation, maybe they don't know that Noelle was the first person to do the talking, so maybe they just blame Red, all four of them as a whole. But I feel like for Red team, I didn't think it's a good move to so visibly help another team, especially after you just stole from Blue team. Now you're like hitting Blue team twice in a span of 2 or 3 days. You're just sort of drawing a line in the sand. Okay, now it's going to be Blue team versus Red team come merge. You're sort of letting Yellow be in the middle now, because Yellow didn't have to choose a side. They didn't visibly help another team. Maybe Blue tries to recruit Yellow to go against Red, or maybe Red and Yellow do team up. I feel like helping Yellow here, okay, they're going to say thank you right now, but it's not like Ellie, Gabler, Sammy, Owen, and Janine are going to now, I have to work with Red because they saved us in this one challenge. They don't owe them anything.
I think part of it is, though, like, Red team had already hit Blue team, and if Blue team keeps winning and winning and winning, then they won't need Yellow team's help at merge to take out the Red team. Like, you know? Because merge is going to be at like what, 12 people? So if you have 6 of the 12, you don't need anyone else's help, especially if someone like has an advantage that they're willing to use to like help keep the Blue team on top. Like,
I guess so. I feel like for me, Blue has 6, Yellow has 5. It's not like it's a 6-3 situation. I feel like maybe you want Yellow to lose more, so they go down to 4, and you go into merge, or say merges next week. It'd be 4-4-6, and now Yellow has an incentive. They have a reason to want to work with you, Red team, because you're both down in numbers. But now it's Blue 5, Yellow 5, Red 4. You know, Yellow doesn't really have any reason to work with Red specifically because they also have 5 people. It's not like it's a 6-3 numbers disadvantage. So I don't know. I feel like it is risky just so early to be visibly helping another team like this, especially because there's not that much advantage for you because the numbers still are so even. It's not like Shannon Ricard, they have 2 and they need to make some friends. It's 5-5-4 now.
I do think it would be fun if this like started a Yellow-Red alliance, though. Like if next time when doing the puzzle, Yellow like pays Red back and like helps them out, and then so it kind of becomes like a thing. Like that would be fun. I really, enjoy cross-tribe interactions before the merge, just because I think that makes the merge more interesting.
Okay, I feel like I'm fine with red helping yellow this one time here because it is strategy based, although we'll see if it's good strategy or bad strategy for one team to help another come the merge or come the next few episodes. But I feel like I would start to get annoyed if this like helping or cheating happens every single episode, which then maybe it feels a little bit more unfair compared to when we see just regular puzzle cheating, like someone looks over and they copy the puzzle, or it's a word phrase and someone looks over and copies the word phrase. I'm not a fan of that because it's no strategy. You're literally just copying someone else's puzzle. But here, at least it is a little bit strategy based, but I feel like I would get more annoyed if it happens every single challenge.
I mean, helping someone else or accepting help from someone else is still strategy. So, I mean, I think it's not in the rule books that you can't help each other. So,
Jeff is just making it up. He's going to add it to the rule books after one of his favorites gets eliminated. I think if more helping does happen, I guess we have to look at how they line up every single challenge. Is it always one team is in the middle, or has it been switching, like, which lane they run in? Because if it's always yellow in the middle, then it's so easy for red and yellow just to collude. But if blue were in the middle and then red had to go all the way across one person's puzzle to then talk to the other team, that would be more acceptable because it's not just like, oh, I'm helping the person next to me, but it's more strategy based. You have to go completely around and be super visible about it.
I think that would be so fun. That would be so much drama.
I'm good once. If it keeps happening 3 more times before merge, I might get a little bit annoyed. I feel like similar to the Amazing Race in a couple seasons ago, we saw this alliance. They basically just helped each other and cheated, colluded on everything to purposely get other teams eliminated, which yes, you can say it's strategy, but I feel like as a viewer, you're like, that sort of sucks if you just solely got eliminated because everyone else is colluding. I don't know. If I were on blue and it kept happening like 3 weeks from now, I'd be like, this is unfair.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it would be fun. Like, if you're on blue and you notice that yellow and red keep colluding, like, give them a reason to stop colluding. Or, like,
I guess you have to have a way that you can get around the colluding that isn't just being better at puzzles, which I think that's like the bad thing about the Amazing Race. Because if the teams are colluding, there's nothing that you can do as the odd person, odd team out. So I feel like if more colluding does happen, there has to be some way to like combat it. Because even if you're like, yeah, just be better at puzzles, sometimes you can't win if two groups are colluding. I feel like you have to be able to somehow combat it so you can still win the challenge even if people are colluding all the time.
Well, I mean, I don't think that just be better at puzzles is that big of an ask. Like, red won because they were the best at the puzzle. Like, red didn't need any help from yellow to do their puzzle. So it's kind of like the first place team is just going to be whoever is best at that particular puzzle. So
yeah, which then it's like the second place team, if you're just helping another, it's not really who's best. I could see if you were on blue team and say you're like Gio or Cassidy and you're going to get eliminated because the other teams helped each other, I feel like you might have a bad taste in your mouth being voted out, similar to someone that gets voted out on the hourglass twist.
I mean, people get voted out in shitty situations all the time. And like, I agree that it probably wouldn't be the most fun, but I feel like that would at least be more fair than like the hourglass twist or like Sari getting voted out just because she was the only one who didn't have an advantage. Like, there are levels of shittiness, and I feel like your team losing an immunity challenge perfectly fairly still, you know?
I guess it depends what people think is fair. It seems like blue thinks it's unfair. Even yellow said a win is a win, so maybe they don't think it's necessarily fair, but it's in the rule books for Survivor. So, whatever is not unallowed, you can still do it. Just like we saw people stealing food in Survivor South Africa. It's not in the rule books that it's not allowed, and people thought it was unfair that you would take more food. So it's a similar thing here. It's not allowed right now.
I mean,
So it's fair, I guess.
I think part of it is like you could argue that like last season it wasn't fair to anyone who wasn't on Jonathan's team because Jonathan could just beast mode everything. But it's not like they can say like no one who is super strong can ever play on Survivor because that would make the game less interesting. So I think like why it might not be quote unquote fair, but as long as the game is still interesting and fun, I think that it should still be allowed. And like just because it's like not the most fair way to play doesn't mean that it still can't be interesting. And like, yeah, I'm not gonna want to see it every time, every season, but I think this one season being shaped by collusion would be different than what we've seen on other seasons. So
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, if it happens here, it's strategy based, it's fun and interesting. If it happens every single episode, it's going to get a little bit old because if you're the blue team and two teams are continuously helping each other, there's nothing really you can do in that situation besides running faster, getting to the puzzle faster so you can get a little bit more time, which then it's like less fun to watch if one team is constantly going to tribal council every single time. So, yeah, but I think the Jonathan thing, that's getting too nitty-gritty into it because then it's like, oh, you can go one step further and now production, maybe you're mad at them because why did they put Jonathan on this team versus another team? And then it's just going too in the weeds on it, I think.
yeah, but I think like the basic point of that is like you can't make anything in Survivor entirely fair because everyone is different and everyone has different skills and stuff. So
Yeah, I just say don't do colluding like The Amazing Race, and then it will be fine. So then it'll be more okay. I think at the end of this challenge, do you did you see Sammy's dance, Alyssa?
no.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I have one more thing about colluding. I think one of the things about Survivor that's interesting with colluding is like your chickens are eventually going to come home to roost. They're going to get to the merge and they're going to have to answer for it. In The Amazing Race, you can just collude forever with no consequences. So, but anyway,
Okay,
Sammy's
yeah.
dance. Tell me about Sammy's dance because I
But
did
I
not pay
I agree
attention
with
to
that
it.
though because I feel like with The Amazing Race, they collude and they just eliminate the people not in their alliance. So that's what also going back to my point about you need that mechanism to still be able to like do
When
something about the colluding. That would be like what you're saying. Okay, get to the merge and then you can backstab those people, vote them off like, I hate you now because you guys were all cheating and colluding with one another. Let's team up and like vote out the colluders. Or like maybe people didn't want to collude, but yes, you need that mechanism there to prevent the colluding or you have something to do about it in the future, unlike The Amazing Race.
Survivor's superior. Anyway, Sammy's dance.
Oh my gosh, Alyssa, you have to go and watch it. There's a lot of like Reddit's videos of it. Which maybe I was like, okay, maybe we're too old for it. But Sammy did this like TikTok dance at the end. I didn't know the name of it, but apparently it's called the Gritty. And so he did that dance after the team helped them and yellow team won second place in the challenge. And then he was doing that dance, which apparently was popularized by an NFL player. And then it became a Fortnite dance. And like it's popular on TikTok, people doing it. So I
Was
was
it
like,
popularized by an NFL player? Because I thought Gritty was the name of like a hockey mascot.
I'm not sure. That's what I read online about the lore
Okay,
of this dance.
I will not question you any further. But anyways, yeah, that is interesting. I'm not a ticker talker, as they say. So
So I wonder if this shows his age because someone like Dwight is 22. Would he recognize this dance off of like Fortnite or TikTok? All of the older people probably like, what the heck is Sammy doing? Like, what is this dance he's doing?
the thing about TikTok is that since it's so personalized, you can just be like, "Oh, it's a TikTok dance I saw on my For You page." And like someone else who has TikTok is just going to be like, "Oh yeah, we all have different For You pages." That doesn't mean that he's older or younger than me. It just means that he watches and likes different kinds of videos.
I
So,
guess it would be interesting if someone recognized him do this dance and they're like, Sammy, how do you know this dance? Like, I don't know. Is it what's the age range for Fortnite? Because I wouldn't say, oh, it's like only a 19-year-old teenage thing. So he could still say, yeah, I'm 22 and I play Fortnite. It's not like necessarily a weird thing, but it was just so funny that you would do like a TikTok Fortnite dance after winning a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I know like 30-year-olds who play Fortnite, so it's not like just a youth thing.
Yeah, like would you like do the renegade after, I guess you don't watch TikToks, but would you do a popular TikTok dance after you won a challenge, Alyssa?
I mean, since I don't watch TikToks, no. So, I mean, I also like dancing is not like the thing I do when I'm happy. So,
What would you do?
I would just like clap. Oh,
We'll have to teach you some TikTok dances so then when you go on Survivor, Alyssa, you can you can just do the gritty and other dances after.
no.
Oh my gosh. I thought that was just so funny because the camera angle wasn't even like fully on him, so it like cut off part of the dance he was doing. So after this long conversation, red team wins first, the yellow team wins second, and blue team is last place. So pre-tribal council, they are discussing who to vote for. It seems like it's going to be between Cassidy and Gio at first, which basically what we thought preseason in our cast assessment, we were saying, okay, Gio, Cassidy, and Lindsay are probably the people first off this team. If they go to 3 tribal councils, Carla, James, and Ryan probably safe into merge. So I guess we were pretty right there. Carla here is in the middle. And I was surprised because she continuously said in confessionals, yeah, we're voting Gio. Gio is the person I want to go home. I was surprised by this because I thought from the previous episodes that Gio and Carla bonded over their backgrounds and shared backgrounds, that maybe Gio and Carla were closer. But it seems like Gio and Carla are not actually that close because she had all those confessionals saying she's voting Gio out and how Gio needs to go because he's too power hungry right now.
Yeah, I thought it was weird just because like Gio and Cassidy, they both don't seem to really trust each other. But I think someone like throwing out a name and being like, I want this person to go home doesn't necessarily make them power hungry. So I'm curious like if Gio did something else that made people think that he was power hungry. Like what was up with that? I feel like we didn't get the whole story.
Yeah, I guess especially because we haven't really seen much from Blue Team at all. It's like, okay, Gio and Cassidy like bickering over cutting the fruit. That's not going to get someone voted out, really, but that's like the rhetoric that they're going with. And then I feel like for Lindsay, we all need Lindsay's confidence. She's like, I am a strong person. I'm a threat. So I should be a target. Why wouldn't I be a target? Because I'm so great at so many different things. I'm like, I need Lindsay's confidence in my life. If you take any like millennial or Gen Z person, they probably got some kind of insecurity. So they would never think like, yeah, I'm such a big threat. They should be voting me out, and then gets yourself voted out of the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the irony of this situation is like Lindsay wasn't voted out for being a big threat. She was voted out because she was being paranoid and difficult to work with. So kind of sucks to suck.
Yeah, her paranoia starts to bother James and Carla, and then they're trying to calm Lindsay down. And then now it seems like James and Carla are the swing votes. Okay, are we going to vote out Lindsay or are we going to vote out Gio? So good for Cassidy, honestly. Her name was coming up at the start there with the men wanting to vote Cassidy out, and she just basically did nothing. If Lindsay just did nothing, probably would have been fine. And then Cassidy's name didn't even come up on the new plan. And then people were like, yeah, Lindsay is being too paranoid. Let's switch the vote potentially off of Gio onto Lindsay or off of Cassidy and onto Lindsay. So I feel like that's really good for Cassidy. She could be potentially a sleeper pick to go far in the game. Even though she hasn't really got much screen time the first 3 episodes, I feel like she had a good episode tonight.
I'm not even sure she had that great of an episode tonight, though. Like, she didn't really do anything to get the vote off of her. Like, Carla was the one who was like, no, I want to vote for Gio because he's being too power hungry. Like, it felt like Cassidy didn't have to convince anyone to switch their vote, and Cassidy wasn't the one who suggested Lindsay as the alternate vote. So I feel like if you're the target and then the target changes it says more about you and your social game if you're the one who gets the target to change. I feel like Cassidy only like had any part of this episode because she was originally the target and not because she did anything like notable.
I guess so, but I would argue like Cassidy doing nothing is pretty good compared to Lindsay doing stuff and then getting voted out. But I would also say Cassidy's social game seems to be stronger than what is being shown in the edit because Cassidy must be super close to Carla because Carla was brought in with the men to vote Cassidy out. And Carla said, no, heck no, I'm not voting Cassidy out. She's my girl. So that's good. You know, Cassidy and Carla could now be the women's alliance as a duo. They seem closer. That's not being shown in the edit for Carla to want to save Cassidy and not vote her out compared to Carla wanting to vote Gio out, even though we thought those two were potentially close. And I think it's good for Cassidy. She was brought in on the final plan to vote Lindsay out. So she has to have some social connections there because Gio was left out of the vote. So I think maybe it's hard because it's more maybe of a social game that Cassidy is playing, but Cassidy being brought into the plan, the final plan to vote Lindsay out, I think that's a good like check for her resume. And at least being connected to Carla, who's like the power player on this alliance, could also be a good thing for her.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see how that plays out just because I personally don't think that like having one okay-ish episode like is necessarily a good sign. So, yeah.
That's true. I think if Cassidy makes it next week, or at least, you know, if Blue goes to tribal council again, maybe they vote Gio out, then Cassidy could go into the merge and maybe make it pretty far because she's not like super threatening compared to, I feel like when you get to merge, especially with the men versus women's numbers, they're probably going to start targeting big men at the merge that like these women could maybe fly under the radar come merge because there's just so many men left.
Yeah, so.
But I thought it was weird though. Lindsay at tribal council, she was so confident I'm going to get votes because I'm such a strong player. Why would nobody vote for me? That she didn't even play the shot in the dark. If she was so nervous or paranoid about it, I guess her tribe did such a good job of convincing her that she was safe and she didn't have anything to worry about that she like tricked herself into not playing the shot in the dark, even though she was paranoid about going home to begin with.
Yeah, she like 5D chessed this, so.
Yeah, she basically self-fulfilling prophesied herself, and it's just gotta suck for Lindsay, like, to watch this back for her has got to be so hard to, like, flub up your dream that much to get voted out because of you, like, literally because of your paranoia. You weren't even on the chopping block prior.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Carla, Ryan, James, and Cassidy, they voted for Lindsay. Gio left out of the vote. He voted for Cassidy. Lindsay voted for Gio. So next time in the preview, we see Gio yelling at Cassidy, telling Cassidy that she's on the bottom, which will be interesting to see, okay, who is on the bottom, actually, Gio or Cassidy, because Gio was seemingly left out of the vote. Maybe they told Gio to vote Cassidy still to split the vote in case the shot in the dark was played. Maybe not, and he was actually left out. So if he was actually left out and he's yelling at another person who's in the majority, that's not good. He should try to be getting back into the majority.
Yeah. I feel like next week is going to end up being very messy.
Yeah, so I'm excited for next week.
I'm excited too, and I hope that you guys are excited as well. I hope that you guys have some opinions that you're going to share with us in the comments down below. What did you think of Lindsay? Are you sad to see her go? Did you think she was the one who was going to be voted out? What do you think about collusion within Survivor? Do you think that red and yellow should like continue to help each other during challenges? Do you think that it's better when no one helps anyone else? What do you think about, I don't know, Noelle not taking a big risk last week? Do you think that everyone should be surprised by that? Let us know all that and more in the comments down below, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.